Hello and welcome to Scratch. In this next tutorial we're going to show you how to use some of Scratch's basic features. Alright, let's begin. We're going to get rid of Scratchy here and we're going to bring in a new sprite. We can get a new sprite from either our sprite library, drawing a sprite, uploading it from a file that we have, or taking a picture with our webcam. In this instance we're going to upload it from the library. I'm going to search for animals and I'm going to select this dog, dog 2. Next, I want to make my dog walk. So I'm going to drag out a move 10 steps button and see what it does. If I double click, it looks like it moves 10 steps. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to drag out a forever block so that he pretty much does it forever. If I double click on it, he goes all the way to the end and he stops. Unfortunately, he doesn't know what to do when he gets to the end. So what we're going to do is go back to the motion blocks and we're going to tell our little dog here that if he meets up with an edge that he should bounce. So he bounces off and goes in the other direction. Alright, next let's make it so that he doesn't appear upside down. So I'm going to click on an I from formation and I'm going to change his rotation style. So I'm going to change it so he can only go left and right. Alright, so far so good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and throw a hat on that so that when I click on this, when I click on the green flag, he will do his thing forever. Okay, this dog, he looks a little stiff. He's walking and he's going back and forth, but he looks a little stiff. In order to make it look a little bit more realistic, we're going to make it look like he's walking. We're going to create the illusion that he's walking. So to do this, let's go to costumes. This particular costume has, this particular sprite has 3 different costumes. It has the one we're looking at right now, it has this one, and it has this one. We're going to get rid of number 3 because that doesn't really fit into what we want to do. But I'd like to create the illusion that he's walking by putting in a script that alternates between these 2 costumes so that it looks like he's walking. So let's go back to our scripts. Let's go to looks and let's find the next costume command. Snap that in and I'm going to go over to control and I'm going to find a weight command and I'm going to type in 0.1 and I'm going to snap this in underneath and now let's see what it does. Makes it look like he's walking. Now you can change the speed of his walk, but I like this, so I'm going to stick with this for now. Next, let's give our friend here a background. Currently it looks like he's walking in a cloud. Let's give him some place to be. So we're going to go to the stage, we're going to go to backdrops, and I'm going to import a backdrop from the library. In this particular instance, well, you've got all these options, but in this particular instance I'm going to choose the playground and I'm going to click OK, and then we've got our dog walking in a playground. He looks a little lonely though. Let's give our dog a friend. Alright, to do this we're going to bring in a new sprite and we are going to go to animals again and we are going to go to parrot. Say OK. Now he's kind of big, so I'm going to resize him. I'm going to come up to the shrink tool and I'm just going to keep clicking on him until he's the size that I like. That looks pretty good right there. Now before we go any further, I want to animate the dog a little bit more. I forgot to do this. I'm going to throw it in there now. So if we go to the dog's costume, here's something I want to point out. This is a new feature with this version of Scratch. That is that they have what's called vector mode. Now in vector mode, suffice to say, the main difference is it has to do with the way that the graphics are stored. Now I'm not going to go into that too much with this tutorial, but I guess what you need to know is that the cool thing about using vector graphics is that you can make a sprite or a costume larger or smaller, and it doesn't lose its definition. It doesn't get all pixelated and boxy. To find out more, you could visit Scratch's Wikipedia page or even check out some YouTube videos on it that can be pretty informative to tell you the main differences of using vector graphics. For this particular assignment or project, we're gonna I'm gonna convert it back to what we're used to seeing, which is bitmap. So I'm going to convert to bitmap. I'm going to do that for both of them. And you'll notice that it looks less defined. Vector graphics always look a lot better. But to do the type of editing that I want to do right now, I need to be in bitmap mode. All right, so basic controls for bitmap mode are over here on the left. We've got a brush, a line, a rectangle. It can be a perfect square if you hold down the shift button. We've got an ellipse that could be a perfect circle if you hold down the shift button when you create it. We've got a text tool, a fill tool, an eraser, select tool, and a tool that lets us make duplicates. We also have an undo button, a redo button. We've got some features down here where that allow us to some coloring options. And we've got features up here that allow us to flip our image horizontally or vertically. And then we can also always center our costume if we need to. So for right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in. You can see our little guy a little bit better. And one of the features I want to give him is a tail wag. Now to do this, I'm going to select the hand. And I'm going to come up and I'm going to select the tail. And then I'm going to come over and I'm going to flip that. Then I'm going to bring it down and reattach it. Hopefully it looks natural. And then when I go in between the two costumes, not only does it look like he's walking, it looks like his tail is wagging. So having done that, I'm going to go ahead and change it back to vector. Going to do that with both of them. And now let's go back and let's play it. So not only is he walking, his tail is wagging. He's happy. All right, good. So next, what I want to do is I want to give a little life to our friend the parrot. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is go to the motion block, and I'm going to select a point and direction block, a move 10 steps block, and then a next costume block. And to get it going, I'm going to go to events, and I'm going to bring out a block, a hat, that responds when a certain key is pressed. Now, like the dog, the parrot has two costumes. So I want to sort of create the image that he's flying when you go back and forth. And I'm going to use the arrow keys for this. Okay. So for this one, when the up arrow is pressed, he's going to point in direction. He's going to point in direction 0 because that is up. So when I press the up arrow, he'll go up. He'll face up. All right. Next, I want to repeat this for all the directions. So the next direction is going to be down. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to say when the down arrow is pressed that I want him to point in direction 180, which is down. And I also want him to move 10 steps, and I want him to change costumes when he does it. Now, when he points in the direction, it doesn't necessarily have to do with what direction he's facing. That just has to do with what direction he's going to move 10 steps in. So I'm going to go in, and I'm going to tell him, I only want you to face left and right, so we don't have him pointing up or pointing down. So watch what happens when we do this now. So I go down, he goes down, up, he goes up, and he always faces left or right. So now I need to add 2 more directional keys. I'll add when I press the right arrow, he's going to face 90-degree direction. And I'll also put in a left arrow option, which makes him face -90. So now I've got all my directions covered. If I press left, he flies left. If I press right, he flies right. If I press down, he flies down. Up, he flies up. And he's animated. Next, if we wanted to jazz up our parrot a little bit by having him change colors, we could go to the looks area and we could tell him to change color effect by 25. Now, we're going to have to go back to control and throw a forever around that, and then next tell it to start doing this when we start the script. Next. So now notice he's changing colors. That's color effect anyway. Okay. And we can also add an effect where we could, or an option where we could clear the graphic effects if we felt like it. So if I bring out a clear graphics effect button or command, and then I tell it to do that when a certain button is pressed. In this instance, I'll choose C for clear, and then when I choose C, that'll clear it up and bring it back to his original color. All right, notice how my code is a little all over the place right now. Really neat options to just right-click right in your scripts area, select Cleanup, and it makes everything nice and neat. Okay, back to the dog. Let's add a little sound for our friend the dog here. I'm going to click on the blue button to get back to the dog, and what I want to do is I want to come up to Sounds, and I want to select Dog. Now, it's already in here, but in case it isn't, I'm going to show you how to get it. I'm going to go to Sounds, Animal, and different dogs. Dog sounds. I'm going to take this one, say OK, and now we've got it in there. And so we'll set up a script so that when the space bar is pressed, we play the sound of the dog barking. Okay, now let's go back to our friend the parrot, and we'll make a simultaneous command that says please don't bark at me when the dog barks at him. Now, the dog barks at him when the C button is pressed, so we'll set this to appear also, when the space button is pressed, so that when the space button is pressed, not only will the dog bark, but the parrot will say, please don't bark at me. All right. Hope you enjoyed that. Give it a try. See how it goes.